everyone, Alec the Okie here. So, recently in the news, there was a event that happened, I can't remember what city it happened, I think it was DC or something like that, but point is, a helicopter and an airplane basically crashed into each other. Horrible tragedy. I think at the time of me making this video, I haven't looked into it recently, but it was this whole, I think there might be some survivors, hopefully. I mean, I pray for it, but that's not what this video is about. Now, I do pray that the survivors, I pray for their health, I pray for their hope, that they can recover from the fact that something like this happened. So, God be with them. That being said, the reality of this type of circumstance is in the obvious thing that the left is bitching about, specifically those obvious journos who pretend they give any damns about their fellow man and just want an excuse to bitch at Trump. So Trump, apparently in a news press, blamed the incident on DEI, and I agree with him on that. It reminds me of the event last year where there was a freighter ship that broke down and crashed into a bridge. And it turned out all of the people were Indian, and I mean Indian from India, not Native American. And it's been a while since I remember that event, so I don't have a lot to bring up here on that. I'm just bringing it up for reference. The reason why is because the same left that touts DEI as some grand thing, because they always obsess over diversity and the message. Thank you, Critical Drinker. They all tout it as some grand thing, but if you ask a person if they are a diversity hire, it's the most offensive, racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, every kind of phobic, E-I-E-I-O type of question you could ever ask, because they're that fucking triggered and that sensitive about it. But why? Why is that important? Well, because having to ask if a person is a diversity hire is essentially asking, is this person just hired because they match a checkbox quota of dark-skinned, foreigner type of relevancy rather than actual merit to be able to do the job? Because it turned out that, and I found this out recently, that the reason why this event happened was because during the era of all the... Sorry, there's just a few people outside looking at something in the distance. I didn't know what they... Anyway, the point is, it turned out that the air traffic control companies that are in charge of this type of thing, the companies that hire these people, apparently were turning down thousands of qualified individuals because they are white, and decided to hire a bunch of DEI hires. And then something like this happens. And what I find fascinating, now, obviously, I think that DEI is garbage, because one, it's racist and decides to do the whole violation of the Civil Rights Act where you cannot be decided not to be hired because of the race of your, what race you are or color of your skin. So even if you do it against white people, that is still racist. I don't care about the, no, racism is about discrimination plus power. No. Racism is racism, get over it. Alright, go cry somewhere else. But another thing I've noticed about this is that, now, having to prove how old I am, not just in real life, but my relevance on the internet. Sure, I'm doing this YouTube channel very recently, even though I've had it for a while, since my college days, and I didn't really do much with it. The actual first time I started getting on the internet was a little bit after YouTube first started. Now, I didn't have a YouTube channel, I just mean I was there when YouTube started. That being said, I also was there a few years after Facebook started. Particularly, I remember when Obama was voted in office. Okay, no big deal, we have the very first American black president. Everybody made a big spiel about it, so on and so forth. And one thing I definitely remember was that every time Obama did something that was bad or wrong, what was the first thing that came out of his mouth? Him and his supporters and his posse and entourage? It's a carryover from Bush's mistakes. In In other words, it's all Bush's fault. It's all Bush's fault. So my question is, if this is the same standard for all you Democrats, do all these mistakes in reality carry over from Biden? Because if that's the case, then you are basically admitting that you hate Biden's policies, and you're just looking for an excuse to somehow blame it on Trump. It's quite a thought to have. Or the reality is you're going to do a double standard, because of course you can't hold yourselves to the same standard by what I just said, which is most likely the case. Because, and the reason why I say that is because it's quite telling. Anytime, now I'm 31 years old, I was born in 93, and I've noticed something. Every time a Democrat is voted in office after a Republican, the Democrats claim that this Democrat president has done great, which by the standard I showed earlier, where they comment about the carryover from the previous president, that would imply that Democrats actually love Republican policies when the economy is good. But whenever a Republican comes in after a Democrat and they bitch and moan, it therefore proves that they hate their fellow Democrat politicians and just want to blame it on somebody else other than their own, because it's a form of, well, we can't criticize the home team. There are people. Yeah, because you can't be a critic for your own team. I mean, God forbid if we found out the home team football all-star quarterback was doing drugs and beating his girlfriend and abusing children. I mean, no, we can't tell him to go either clean up his act or be replaced by a better human fucking being. No, we just ignore all that and just let it happen because he's good at making touchdowns. You don't understand. He really runs the game. I don't really watch football, so I don't give a shit, but you get my point. So, my point is, finding out that DEI is now going to be under attack and demolished, and you have all these people who literally were qualified as the diversity hiring specialists, and then as soon as Trump says we're going to get rid of DEI and make it basically, I don't know if he said it's going to be flat out illegal practice, but I think he did, maybe, I can't remember. But my point is, if that's the case, that also explains why a bunch of people decide to then change their titles they've had for years under Biden, and say that they are just the hiring specialists. Yeah, quit pretending you're not basically hiding the fact that y'all were, being racist for years. And another thing, I'll just kind of end on this. I've noticed that there's a joke that the right wing uses against the left when it comes to any of the leftists that agree with socialism, that there's this mental disconnect about certain events that happen. For example, it's the socialist style, it's not happening, but if it is, it's a good thing. Well, that's DEI. There are no people that are being hired solely because of the color of their skin and racially turning down white people because they're white, even if they qualify for the job. That's not happening. But in case it is, we're all going to celebrate it as a grand opportunity to make the group of people more diverse. Yeah. This is the kind of people that are destroying everything. So I'm going to leave with this last statement and the title of this video. DEI does not stand for diversity. I don't give a shit what the rest of it stands for. Something and inclusivity. But I don't remember what the E stands for. But the true definition of DEI stands for destroying everything inevitably. That's the facts. It destroys the standards, refuses to hire actually qualified people because, God forbid, they might be white. All for people who will most likely ruin everything, destroy everything, and then you're called a racist when you point out the fact that the people who are being hired are, non-white, not qualified, and ridiculous. And that's not to say there aren't qualified people who aren't white. Of course there are. Hell, I've worked with people who are not white, and they're qualified for their jobs. But then again, I've also worked for people who are not white, and definitely did not do their jobs well. I've been with both. So if anybody can at least say, I know what I'm talking about, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. So, DEI is destroying everything inevitably, and we definitely need to get rid of it, or else we're going to watch America and every other society that continues to embark in this practice as the destruction of society. Y'all have a nice one, and God bless. And always go with Jesus. You can't go wrong.